The room was quiet except for the faint sound of chatter backstage. Candace Owens stood near the side curtain of the auditorium, her hands clasped together tightly. The crowd beyond the curtain was buzzing. Hundreds of people had come to this event expecting a talk about freedom, culture, and politics, but tonight was going to be different. Candace took a deep breath, her chest rising and falling as though she was trying to gather every ounce of courage left inside her. She glanced at the folded piece of paper in her hand, lyrics she had written late at night, after days of wrestling with emotions too heavy to speak aloud. She never thought she'd be the one singing on stage. The host's voice echoed through the speakers. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we have something truly special for you. Please welcome Candace Owens. The audience erupted in applause as Candace stepped out under the bright lights. She squinted for a moment. The room was bigger than it had felt from backstage. Her throat tightened. She wasn't here to deliver one of her signature fiery speeches. No, tonight was about something much more vulnerable. Good evening, she began, her voice soft but steady. The audience quieted almost instantly, sensing a different tone. Many of you know Charlie Kirk, my dear friend and someone who has been at the front lines with me for years. What many of you may not know is that he has been going through one of the hardest seasons of his life. The room seemed to hold its breath. Candace swallowed hard and pressed the lyrics sheet against her chest. I wanted to do something different tonight. Something that comes from my heart, not my head. So, if you'll allow me, I'd like to sing a song for Charlie. A murmur ran through the audience. They had never seen this side of her before. The pianist at the corner of the stage began to play a soft, slow melody. Candace's hands trembled as she brought the microphone to her lips. When the first note left her mouth, the crowd fell completely silent. Her voice was raw, almost fragile, but it carried something that no speech ever could: love, respect, and the weight of shared battles fought side by side. Candace closed her eyes as she sang, letting the words take her back to the first time she met Charlie Kirk. She had been nervous, unsure whether her voice would matter in a world so loud with opinions. But Charlie had been there, encouraging her, telling her that she was stronger than she realized. Her voice cracked slightly on the second line, but she didn't stop. She sang about late nights in cramped offices, planning events, writing speeches, dreaming of a future where truth still mattered. She sang about the critics, the threats, and the endless debates, all the moments that had nearly broken them, but never did. By the time she reached the chorus, tears were streaming down her face. You carried the fire when I lost the spark, she sang, her voice quivering. When the night got too dark, you showed me the stars. Charlie was sitting in the front row, his head bowed. He had not expected this, not the song, not the vulnerability, not the way every lyric seemed to pierce his heart. He lifted his eyes just as Candace glanced at him, and for a moment, the two simply looked at each other. It was as if the rest of the room faded away, leaving just the two of them, standing in the memory of years spent side by side. The audience was captivated. Many were wiping their own tears. The pianist's fingers moved gracefully over the keys, guiding Candace's voice through every verse. Candace felt her knees weaken slightly as she neared the end of the first verse, but the sight of Charlie holding back his own tears gave her strength. This wasn't about performance, it was about gratitude, about saying the words that had been locked inside her heart for too long. Halfway through the song, Candace's voice faltered. She lowered the microphone for a moment, covering her mouth with one hand as a sob escaped her. The crowd didn't move. No one wanted to break the sacred silence that had settled over the room. Charlie stood up slowly, his chair scraping the floor as he moved. He didn't rush to the stage, he simply stood there, letting her see that he was with her. Candace took a deep breath and nodded slightly, as if drawing strength from his presence. She began to sing again, this time softer, almost like a prayer. When the world told me to sit down, you said, stand. When the noise drowned out my voice, you held my hand. You believed when I could not see. And that is why tonight, I sing for thee. Her words echoed through the hall like a confession. This was not just a tribute, it was a love letter to friendship, to loyalty, to the courage that Charlie had shown over the years. Charlie's eyes glistened as he mouthed the words, "Thank you." The bridge swelled, the music growing louder, and Candace lifted her head toward the ceiling as though releasing years of pain and gratitude all at once. Her tears soaked the paper in her hand, smudging the ink, but it didn't matter, she knew the words by heart now. By the time the bridge ended, half the audience was crying with her. Some held hands, others bowed their heads, but all felt the weight of what was unfolding before them. As the last chorus began, Candace's voice grew stronger. She wiped her tears but kept singing, letting every note carry her heart straight to Charlie. The final words rang out clear and full. "You are the reason I am still here. Through every battle, through every fear. This is my song, my gift, my plea. Thank you, Charlie, for believing in me." The pianist played the last chord and let it linger in the air. The entire hall was silent for a few seconds, as though no one wanted the moment to end. Then, applause erupted. Not polite applause, but a standing ovation that shook the room. People were cheering, some even shouting Candace's name. Candace lowered the microphone, breathing heavily, her face still wet with tears. Charlie climbed onto the stage and without hesitation, pulled her into a tight hug. The audience cheered even louder at the sight. For a long moment, they just stood there, two friends who had walked through storms together, holding each other like survivors finally reaching the shore. Candace whispered something in Charlie's ear. No one could hear it, but whatever she said made him nod, his jaw tightening with emotion. When they finally turned back to the audience, they were smiling through their tears. Charlie took the microphone and said in a shaky voice, "I have no words. Candace, this was the most beautiful thing anyone has ever done for me." The audience cheered again. Candace simply nodded, unable to speak. The music, the tears, the moment, it had said everything.